Hey there traders, welcome back to the StockBandit.tv for episode number 79. I'm sure glad to see you here. Now, you might have noticed I was gone all last week on vacation, so that's why you haven't seen any updates here lately. And with the market really not making much headway, I took my wife to the Caribbean for some fun in the sun, and it was definitely time well spent. Now, there's always more to life than just trading, and I hope that you've realized that by now. And trading really is a means to an end, so don't ever let it dominate your mindset, even if you're very passionate about it. And I am passionate about trading, but I don't want it to ever be the most important thing. So always take the time to enjoy life and spend some of that money that you're making in the markets. All right, so in this episode, I want to talk about failing bounces. And looking through the charts, there are quite a few bounces out there that look very suspect. They don't look like they're trustworthy based on the technical action, and I want to just run through a handful of stocks. These are all energy stocks, by the way, and just kind of point out some characteristics of these charts to kind of give you a little bit better feel for when you see bounces taking place, which ones maybe should be raising some caution flags for you. So up first is UNT. Now you can make a case in this stock for this uptrend that was in place, even a bit of a cup and handle type of pattern here that the stock attempted to break out from right there, only that breakout failed, and the stock ultimately sold off very steadily here over the past few weeks. Now, over the past several days, you can see this stock has settled into kind of a narrow channel pattern here. It's kind of a small rising channel. And in conjunction with this big sell-off in front of it, that sets up a very nice bear flag pattern. Now, take note of the volume down here. I want you to notice the heavy volume during this sell-off phase, and then the diminishing volume that we saw on the initial attempt at a bounce. Now, since then, price has really stagnated, and looks like this pattern could easily confirm with a breakdown to the downside down below this rising channel. And so I want to run you through a couple more charts, and then I'll give you kind of a handful of pointers here. I'm just going to kind of talk through these charts. XEC is another one here. Has been trending up pretty steadily here. Really just kind of rolled over and saw some good steady selling pressure. It has since settled into kind of a small rising wedge pattern here, or you could call it a bearish or inverted pennant pattern. Once again, this one looks like it is vulnerable to lower prices. UPL, here's another one. Had kind of been sitting in this trading range here, kind of a sloppy trading range, but it was holding above the previous trading range, I might add. And this stock sold off and broke down out of this trading range. Now, since then, in the last few days, the bounce attempt has been very weak. Price has virtually been moving sideways, and we see that bounce attempt has come on very quiet volume. This one does look vulnerable to further weakness and further downside. EOG, very similar pattern here, kind of challenged its previous highs, sold off, and this bounce here does look to be failing now. Also take note of this heavy volume on this initial sell-off move, and then the minor light volume here that came on that little bit of a bounce attempt here. And then of course volume starting to kick in once again here as price is heading lower. APA, here's one more. Kind of almost you can make a case for a little bit of a triple top here. Then this stock sold off very steadily. It has settled into this narrowing wedge type pattern here, and it looks like it's vulnerable to another move down if it can break this lower rising trend line. So there's a handful of setups here, but let me just kind of tie all this together for you. When I look at a stock that looks like it's got a failing bounce in the works, and of course this is going to require confirmation. It means these patterns do need to confirm with additional breakdowns from here. But number one, I noticed that the bounces are very short-lived in duration, which means they just don't last very long in terms of days. For example, here's kind of a 3-day bounce after about a 7-day decline. And you can easily just see that right here by looking at these colored volume bars. So that right there is a signal. So short-lived bounces, certainly one thing to take note of. Another one is weak volume on the bounce compared to the downside volume. Take a look here at Apache. Pretty good heavy selling pressure, and really we only got the one heavy bounce day, and that's right here actually as a stock really kind of exhausted itself on the move down and just posted a very minor gain on that particular day. So it's not like that was a huge up day. That was more of a down day that happened to reverse and finish positive. And then since then, a very quiet volume, and that's obviously indicative of weak volume on a bounce compared to this downside volume that preceded it. And the third thing is that bounces really don't carry far in terms of upside. Price is pretty much moving sideways in these kinds of patterns, and it really just lacks a lot of energy. And no pun intended here, as we are looking at energy stocks, but take a look at where this stock bottomed out. We'll call it right there, and since then it's only moved up to here. So very quiet climb right here and a very minor advance along with that. So anytime you see short-lived bounces in duration, and you notice very weak volume as compared to the downside volume, and then of course the bounces just aren't carrying very far, those are the kinds of patterns that look like they could easily fail. These are the bounces that are very hard to trust, and then of course when they do start to confirm with additional downside, that's when the technical sell signal kicks in. All right, so I hope you've found this helpful. Thanks again for joining me for this episode. I will be back soon with more videos, but in the meantime, trade like a bandit.